Welcome to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen, with your host, Ryan Lee, your number one source for all things landscape lighting. From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing, we discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
Hey. What is going on? Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in the world, Lighting for Profit, presented by Emery Allen. So good to see you. So glad you're here. Oh man, we got a doozy for you. I love this. This is like my favorite part of the week, doing this show and being vulnerable. It's a live show, so there's no editing. I say stuff that I don't mean to say. I do stuff that I don't mean to do. Even just starting the show, I hit the wrong button at the wrong time. It happens. But I'm excited. And remember, the purpose of Lighting for Profits, here to educate and motivate to help you dominate. So if we're doing that, go give us a review on, I think Apple is the only place you can do reviews for some reason. And it's not even easy to do. You have to be in the app and all this stuff. So do it if you can. If not, it's cool too. And if we're not helping you dominate, give me some feedback. Send me an email at support@ryanleecoaching.com. But I want to thank you for your support. I really, really appreciate it. I'm always filled with gratitude every single week with more and more people showing up. This week is going to be awesome, or today, this show. I've got a friend, a client, a colleague, actually client numero uno, Luke Jensen. So I'm excited to have him on. My most important question is like, why in the hell did you decide to join Landscape Lighting Secrets? Because I didn't even have a logo. I didn't have a website. He didn't even know who I was. I'm just like, man, is this guy just loaded and just wants to like throw money at stuff? Like, so I'm going to ask him that question. And Luke, I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last almost, year and a half. I went to a Christmas light event. We went down to Trans World and Clippa. And Luke is like, he's a celebrity. I mean, it was pretty cool. We're walking through the halls and everyone's like, Luke. And I'm just like, wow, okay, I didn't know. So, I might get a tattoo of Luke Jensen's name somewhere on my body. He's definitely a celebrity in the Christmas light and holiday lighting industry. So we're going to have him on just in a couple minutes. Super excited about that. And so I just today actually I published my highlight video for Landscape Lighting Live. Turned out awesome. I had a really cool videographer. This guy was a stud. He was working the room. He was working hard. He was all over the place. Did an awesome job putting the video together. So if you want to check that out, go to my YouTube channel. I don't even know what the name of it is. I don't know, it's like the long domain, whatever. Just go to YouTube and search Landscape Lighting Secrets and check out the highlight video. It's going to totally make you feel like you missed out, because you did miss out. So if you feel like you missed out and you want some in-person training, my next event is Lighting Accelerator, March 11th, 12th, 13th. Go to lightingaccelerator.com and get registered. We still do have a few spots for that. So there's some landscape lighting training, some Christmas light training, kind of two things going on at once. But and if you don't want landscape lighting and you just want holiday lighting, register for that. If you just want landscape lighting and not the holiday, register for that. So excited about that. Watching the video got me pumped up again. I was like, yes, these events are awesome. People need this. Online and stuff is great, but in person is definitely the way to go. So before we get started, before we have Luke come on, I have a confession. And I was like, am I going to say this? I'm going to say it. I have a confession. Lately, I've been working my ass off. Like, I've been working too much. And honestly, it doesn't feel good. When I was younger, I used to want to hustle and grind. And, you've seen those posters, like entrepreneur life and all that stuff. But I don't know. I think I'm smarter now to know that what I'm doing is maybe not the right method, right? When I was younger, I thought, well, you could just solve problems by working harder, But honestly, right now, I'm putting in way more hours than I want to. And up until about 6 months ago, I mean, it was great. I was putting in a lot of hours, but it's literally like I preached that message of go to work because you want to, not because you have to. I mean, I was doing it because I wanted to, and it didn't really matter, right? But, if I wanted to work 3 hours, I'd work 3 hours. I just did exactly what I wanted. But now I've got a lot more pressure on me as the business grows and everything else. And so, I tell myself it's for the right reasons. It's for my family. It's for myself, for my clients, for you all, right? For the entrepreneurs. But honestly, it brings me back to a time when I was building my lighting business. I was up early, out late, hustling, grinding, not grinding like that, but it's for all the same reasons, right? It's for the family, it's for the future, it's for your legacy and all that. And at first, it seemed right. I literally thought I was doing the right thing. I was an entrepreneur. I was doing all this stuff, and that's just the life. You sacrifice so that you can control your schedule and all that. It was the American dream, they said, right? I thought I was living the American dream. Be a business owner and control your schedule, have freedom. Well, we know how that goes. This so-called freedom ended up turning into something that felt like I was chained to. It was not freedom at all. I could never get away. My family was like, when they needed something, I was like, oh man, like I got to go do that instead of I get to go do that. Right. And there was always a challenge, always a problem. Now, luckily I ended up escaping, that prison, and I figured out a way to hire my replacement. It wasn't easy and definitely not a flip of a switch. It was, one step at a time. And I didn't know exactly what the future was going to look like, but I knew that if I just kept moving forward, I could get there. Right. And so I was actually just messaging with a client today, and he was giving me the analogy of, and I think it was the Marines, the Army. I can't remember what branch of the military, but in the military, if they're doing a 25-mile hike with 70 pounds on their back, to not look at at that distance, look at that peak, because it's just gonna be too overwhelming. Like, man, are we ever gonna get there? So just take one step at a time. And it's true. That's what you have to do in business. If you're feeling like what I felt and what I'm feeling now a little bit, right? Keep moving forward. Don't get lackadaisical and just keep existing. Start living. Make the change. Take a risk. Hire your replacement. That's my message today. Stop existing and start living. And it's not a perfect process either. I'll tell you that. Um, I've hired people that didn't last 2 weeks, right? Even in my business now, I now have 2 business coaches. So I've got 2, I wouldn't say full time, but business coaches that are helping me out with coaching calls and stuff like that. It's awesome. They're doing great. I also have an executive assistant now. So I'm building my team, right? But I still feel like I'm not there yet. And I still feel like I'm working in my business, right? And so that's why I'm hiring these people around me, so that I can spend time working on the business and continually innovating and adding new things to the coaching program, right? This is not meant to be just a one and done thing. Like, here, watch this video, feel good about yourself, and now you've arrived, right? Success is not a destination, right? So we're always working on ourselves. But the reason I share this with you is because I hired my first executive assistant, 3 or 4 months ago, and she's no longer here. It did not work out, right? And that's frustrating. It feels like you're going backwards. And then, in between the time of replacing her, it's like me doing everything and stuff like that. It's a challenge. It's not easy, but I want to share that with you because it's not a perfect process. I learned a ton. I had hired office managers before, but I'd never hired an executive assistant. So I wasn't sure exactly what things to ask and what qualities to look for. And now after going through that first experience, I'm like, oh man, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So now I'm a changed person. I know more than I did before, right? And so I don't know how things are going to work out, but I'm confident they will. And I can only control what I can control. You have to control the controllables, as one of my first sales coaches taught me, is control the controllables. And so just want to share that with you, to know that it's normal to not have everything go right. That's normal, right? And sometimes, whether it's a video you're watching or someone you follow online or whatever it is, you read a book, it almost sounds like these processes, if you just do this is what happens. And it almost sounds like it's perfect. And that's just not the case. Like, it never has been for me. And I keep accelerating. I keep advancing to the next level. It's more like sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but at least you're moving forward, right? So sometimes things just suck, and you have to go and figure it out. So Want to give you some encouragement. If you've recently made a move, you've hired someone to help you out, whatever it is, and it didn't work out, don't let that be the determining factor. I've seen that in Facebook groups where people say, well, I tried to hire someone, but it didn't work. These guys are lazy. They want to work 3 days a week, show up at 10 in the morning and leave by 2 and all this stuff. Yeah, there's some bad apples out there, but understand there's also really good people out there that understand the value of hard work. And if you build the right culture and ecosystem, they'll want to be a part of it. So I just know that you got to do whatever it takes to succeed. But don't overload yourself. Like right now, I felt, in between executive assistants, I was overwhelmed. I was like, man, this is too much, right? So get help. I don't know what my next hire is even going to be. I don't even have that position created yet, but I know there's going to be someone else in our team, right? So I'm working on that right now. I know that I've reached my personal capacity. I'm trying to manage my time as a husband and father and also a business owner. And so it's up to me to manage my own time, right? So I've reached my capacity. You've probably already reached and passed your capacity, whether you know it or not. Most of us are doing the job of 4 to 5 people at any given time. So make the investment in yourself by investing in others. And you're going to see huge strides from this. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in my client's life. It's a phenomenal feeling to be able to hire your replacement. And again, don't get so consumed with the fact that it's going to be a perfect process. So that's pretty much my message for you today. What we're going to do is take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to have client numero uno, Luke Jensen, join us with holiday design. So stick with me and we'll talk about Luke and see what he's been up to. We'll be right back.
There's more to landscape lighting than just throwing a fixture under a tree. The best display is one that was not only designed well, but also stands the test of time. High-quality fixtures and bulbs are key to long-term success and customer happiness. At Emery Allen, our focus is on creating only the highest performance landscape bulbs in the industry, with long-lasting components that don't degrade or flicker with age. Each bulb's appearance is always consistent throughout your lighting project. We offer a wide range of base types, beam spreads, and color choices that will fit your needs. To learn more, give us a call at 843-480-4473 or email us at info@emeryallen.com.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, this is Jeff Hester, senior contributor and co-host of the Weekend Review here on Turf's Up Radio. Can't make it to major green industry events, but want to stay connected? Don't worry, we have you covered. Be sure to download the Turf's Up Radio app or visit our website. We'll bring you the live coverage you need to keep you up to date with everything that happens in our industry. And to find out where we'll be next, simply visit greenindustryevents.com. That's greenindustryevents.com. And always remember, Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
All right. Welcome back to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen. I want to welcome my guest, Mr. Luke Jensen with Holiday Designs. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. How you been, man?
I'm happy it's Friday. Let's just say that.
Happy. It is good, man. Well,
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you on for a lot of different reasons. But if you would, maybe just do a quick introduction of yourself. Where are you from and where are you at right now?
From all over. I've lived a lot of places on the East Coast. A while in New York, a while in Delaware, and most recently now we're in Gainesville, Georgia.
Awesome. Well, how's life in Georgia? You've only been down there a little bit of time now.
Yeah, 4 months now. We really like it. It's a beautiful area. We're pretty much kind of at the foothills of the Tennessee Blue Hill Mountains. That's a really pretty area. We go up there a lot for dinner and just to walk around the different towns and stuff. So that's super cute. And even Gainesville has a really nice downtown area, restaurants and shopping and bars. So just it's a really fun area. We're really enjoying it.
Cool. Are you missing Delaware?
Nope.
No. Well, I want to kind of start from the beginning and then kind of build to where you're at now. When did you get into the holiday lighting industry?
So 2015, I had been running an I started an IT consulting company in 2009, and I enjoyed working with people and solving problems. I really enjoyed the relational aspect. I didn't like the IT part where I was banging my head against the wall and trying to figure out why a computer didn't work. That wasn't fun. We did all business to business support. So we had a lot of clients, publishing companies in Manhattan, doctors, lawyers. They demanded a lot of time. So every Christmas Day, there was a support call. Every Easter Sunday, there was a support call. 2:00 in the morning, there were support calls. There was just no respect for personal time. So I was looking for what my next opportunity could be, and I was open. I didn't really have anything set. And 2015, I was at a training event in Atlanta, and two of the guys at the training event were like, "Hey, man, you ever think about Christmas lights?" And I was like, "Dude, don't waste my time." So a couple months later, I see both those guys again. They're like, "Hey, you think anything more about those Christmas lights?" And I'm like, "Come on, guy." I'm like, "I got so much going on right now. Like, I can't even think about Christmas lights." So fast forward a couple months later, I think it's probably about middle of October. And they're like, "Well, Christmas is coming. You ever think about doing lights?" And I was like, "All right, tell me how much I can make." Because like, if I'm going to make $2,000, doing Christmas lights, like, hey, an extra $2,000 during Christmas season sounds great. But with everything else going on, like, I don't have the capacity just to make a couple $1,000s. So they start rattling numbers off to me. And I'm like, "Dude, you made that in a year?" And he's like, "No, we made that in 6 weeks because we kind of start November 1st and we end December 15th. And I'm like, "Nah, get the heck out of here." So I talked to him and his partner, I talked to a couple other people. So my wife and I talked it over, and we're like, "You know what? Why not? We got nothing to lose. Let's give it a shot." So we dove in at the end of October in 2015. And by the end of the season, December 15th or 20th, something like that, we did about 25 houses and a handful of commercial properties, a Chick-fil-A, a small ski shop, and like a little, I think maybe like a little haircut place or something like that. And we sat back and we looked at how much money we made in 6 weeks, and we were like, "Wow, maybe there's something to this." So I was still running the IT company at the time, and that was kind of floating everything per se. So the second year, we're like, "Well, we'll give this another run." And we tripled our revenue from our first season. And I was like, "Wow, I kind of like this. I enjoy Christmas lights, and we make a lot of money real quick, and season's over." And, customers might call you because timer tripped or, some little issue like that. But, there's not a lot of support calls. If a light bulb goes bad, you just take it out and replace it. So I really enjoyed that aspect. So our third season, 2018, we tripled again.
That's
and
awesome.
We ended up surpassing the revenue we were doing on the IT consulting side. So I said, "You know what? That's where I'm going to put my focus." And I ended up selling off a bunch of the IT clients. I had a handful of doctors that were all retiring that same year. So I was like, "Hey, this is all kind of lining up." And, we still get a couple bucks every month for some residual stuff, which, that's nice. We literally don't do anything. And first of every month, there's some money in the bank from doing nothing. So we still have that trickling in, but pretty much between 2017 to 2018 is when I decided to really invest 100% into lighting, and mostly Christmas lighting.
When you did that,
yeah.
What did you notice anything different, or was it just like, well, I've got double the time now, or like what was the progress that year?
So the progress that year, we didn't quite hit 20% growth because we hit capacity on production. We at that point we were running one crew, and my wife had just had a baby. So originally when we started out, my wife and I were on the roof together, and she'd be up there slinging lights and climbing roofs and climbing ladders. And I have one friend who's a character, and he gave her the nickname of Crazy White Woman because she'd be on a 2-story, 3-story home and climbing out on these peaks. And he's like, dude, your wife's insane. But she loved it. But once we had the baby, she was like, I'm never getting on a roof again. And the baby was born September 22nd, just going to Christmas light season. And all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, this means I got to pay somebody to replace her. And that was kind of a hit because up until then, all that time she was working, that was going in our pocket.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, hiring and replacing people and replacing yourself, and sometimes it hurts. So that was kind of like our first baby step into, okay, this is going to become a real business. And after the season was over, I mean, don't get me wrong, during the season, it's absolute insanity. I mean, we're working 16-hour, 18-hour days. The crew goes home, leaves the warehouse at 10 o'clock, and I'm there till 1 o'clock in the morning trying to pump out quotes. I mean, it was hard. We were pretty much a startup, and we were bootstrapping, and we were beating the street.
What was the most difficult thing at that time with that business?
I mean, it's really two things. It's just your finite resources. Cash is finite and time is finite. So when we 15 and 16 and part of 17, I mean, like literally we were bootstrapping. So we were maxing out credit cards. I mean, we were borrowing money. We were doing whatever we could because you have 45 days to do Christmas or 60 days to do Christmas, depending when you start. And a lot of supply houses, they can run out early. And this season, earlier than ever before. So we were doing things, we were overnighting materials because, we could only afford to buy $2,000 of materials at a time or $500 of material at a time. And we're ending up overnighting stuff just so we have materials in time. So I'd say cash flow was definitely difficult. And then just the time resource. I mean, having 3 or 4 people working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, your productivity is, you're working that many hours, but you're not productive. I mean, you're tired. Everybody's tired. Everybody's dragging Red Bull, coffee, whatever it is to get it done. So, the first 3 or 4 years, it was hard. We did make decent money, but you're busting your ass to get it going.
What was the best thing that you enjoyed about that business?
The freedom it gave me. By 2017, really 18, we kind of understood the cash flow demands. We understood the cyclical nature of it, and we'd built a really strong book of recurring business. So by December, we'd banked the mortgage, we'd banked the warehouse rent, we'd banked all the insurance payments, we'd banked the car payments. So the rest of the year, I worked enough to take my wife out to a nice dinner, buy stuff for the kids, pay the electric, but I wasn't busting my ass every month worrying about how the heck am I going to pay the mortgage. So every morning I was able to make my kids breakfast and take them to school. Every night, come home, 3:30 in the afternoon if I wanted to, and go bounce on the trampoline, eat dinner with the girls, read them their stories, put them to the bed. That was probably my favorite part of that time of our lives where I had the freedom, I had the time to really be home and enjoy, everything that comes with that.
That's awesome. That's a great feeling. And I think you did it right where you mentioned cash flow. That's where a lot of people get into trouble. You have a surge of income and people are like, man, this is great. I can finally go get that new car, that new boat, that new house, whatever it is. And then that money is going to run out at some point. So you were smart at.
Well, I can't totally take credit for that. That was more my wife, where she was like, hey, we
when
have money now.
Your wife. Yeah. I'm not going to give you any credit for anything.
I probably would have bought that car. I probably would have bought that, jet ski or Razor or whatever. But she was like, hey, we've got the money now, and we know we got to pay the warehouse all year. I'm putting that in the bank, and I'm putting it in a separate account so you don't see it. I was like, you know what? That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Well, you hit on, I think a lot of people do what you did, where it's either themselves or a friend or it's a lot of times their spouse. It's kind of their office person, right?
Right.
How hard was that? Because you could have easily, like, some people don't do what you did and hire someone else. They just figure out a way to still answer the phone, like, while they're having a baby and doing all this stuff. How hard was that to go, wait a minute, we're not only giving up on income for you, but we're now actually going to pay someone else to do this?
Um, I can't say it felt too hard because it was really a necessity. It's just something we had to do. Um, I mean, I just knew I only have so much capacity. And when Sam and I were running the business together, we were doing quotes together. Um, we were communicating with clients together. We were installing together. We were doing the purchasing together. We were prepping jobs together. So um, losing her after having the baby, there was no way I could pick up the slack on that. As much as I wanted to, or I would have tried to, we would have just crashed and burned. Um, so don't get me wrong, I don't just go out there and throw money out in the wind, but I try to research and be frugal, and I found an answering service that had come recommended from another installer that had been using that answering service for years, and they were already experienced in the Christmas light world. So when I brought them on, I didn't have to train them from scratch, uh, as somebody who'd never understood a Christmas light or answered a Christmas light call. So, of course, we used our own scripts, our own pre-qualifying, and our own pricing, but they adapted that pretty quickly because they'd already been doing it for another installer. So that was fortunate. And that structure was also, it was a small monthly fee coupled with basically a usage metric. So the more we used them, the more we paid, which I don't mind that system because I'm paying for what I need at that
Yeah.
point. So there were times where, I think one month we paid them $3,000 just for answering the calls because we had so many darn calls and emails. And then there are other months where we pay them $299 because there's nothing going on. So that kind of makes it easier to absorb because I know it's not going to be $3,000 a month for the whole year. It's just the $3,000 a month for the 3 or 4 months that we need them. So it did make it a little easier to swallow, but still, again, at the end of the year when we ran the P&Ls and we got we got all the reporting back and stuff, we're like, seems like there's some money missing. That's because that had to go to pay, that had to go to pay a lead installer instead of going into our pocket because my wife was doing all of it.
Yeah. Well, I love that approach though. Like, you don't have to commit all into like hiring a full-time employee and paying their taxes and everything else. You can just get an answering service that scales with you and up and down. So yeah, I love that approach. In fact, I don't even think I knew that I'd heard of answering services or whatever, but I never really thought of it as an option. I don't think until you and I met and you were telling me about that. And I was like, man, that's pretty dang awesome.
Well, that's one of the first things you said to me when you called for the pre-qualifying call. You're like, dude, like, you didn't answer your own phone. You're like, that's pretty cool, because he's like, a lot of guys still answer their own phone. And I was like, no, man, for the couple bucks a month I'm paying them to not have to worry about missing a call or not getting back to a client, or I don't answer so they call somebody else. It was a good investment.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people still answer their own phone. So all right, let's go forward a little bit more. At some point,
Sure.
How did you get introduced to landscape lighting? When did that become a thing?
So just from talking to other guys in the industry, I kept hearing about this landscape lighting. It could be profitable. It could be good off-season work. So in 2018, I started looking into it and talking to a few people, and looked at a couple different, trying to find some kind of training out there. So we flew out to Texas for one, which it was actually a really good course. It was pretty much a 3-day intensive and classroom style, on-site style. And so it piqued our interest, and then didn't really worry about anything until 2019. And 2019 is when I formed Lewis Lighting and started marketing landscape lighting in Delaware. And at that point, I was pretty much doing everything myself because my holiday lighting business was founded and running in New York, and we had relocated to Delaware, and I didn't want to be going back to New York every week. Going up there for Christmas light season, I have to spend 6 or 8 weeks up there. That's a sacrifice I could make, but going back every week for work to do landscape lighting up there, I didn't want to do it. So I started marketing in Southern Delaware, where we were living at the time. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. reading Facebook groups and listening to people talk, and everybody's talking about, $200 a fixture or $250 a fixture. I was like, okay, I guess that's how much you sell landscape lighting for. I literally had no idea. And, Googling, trying to find where to buy from, and, discount online sellers or your local irrigation supply shop. I bought every freaking light that was out there because I was always trying to save a penny, and I didn't know, I literally didn't know what the heck I was doing. I mean, I can sell you Christmas lights all day long, but when it came to landscape lighting, I was like, whatever, somebody's going to pay me $1,000 to do this, and I can do it by myself in a day. Sounds pretty good to me. Not realizing how much I was leaving on the table. So 2019, I dabbled in it, probably did 8 or 10 jobs. And I liked it because I was doing it all myself. I didn't have any overhead. I didn't have any workers' comp. I didn't have any of that management headache. But 110 degrees outside, and I'm the one digging the trench by hand myself. I didn't have a helper. So that made me think twice about what the heck am I doing. But the rest of it, I really enjoyed, talking with the clients, meeting with them, going through the design options. I really like the landscape lighting side. So then when you called me, I don't know, I think you Facebook messaged me or something, cold emailed or cold Facebooked me. And hey man, you want to grow your business or whatever you said. I was like, what?
It was a cold Facebook message. Yeah.
Cold Facebook, yep.
Well, here, let me do this. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to take a quick break. Pay some love to the sponsors, which, we should do that. But then I want to ask you, why in the hell did you decide to join Landscape Lighting Secrets? And why you even responded to my Facebook message, for real?
That's a great question.
We're going to do a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get the answer. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of working dawn to dusk 7 days a week and still struggling? Working hard isn't your issue. What you need to focus on is the business side of your business. That's where Profits Unlimited comes in. With our 42 years of experience in the industry, we have faced the challenges you are going through. We can help you with bidding, contracts, marketing, selling, and much more. Check us out at profitsrus.com. That's profitsareus.com when you are ready to earn what you deserve. And don't forget, tune into Profit Time at 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Remember, profit is not a dirty word.
Isn't it nice when the weather cooperates and crews complete jobs on time and on budget? But weather can cause delays, and with paper route sheets, jobs get lost in the shuffle. That's why you need Aspire Crew Control scheduling software, an easy-to-use, flexible, and affordable solution that allows you to shift schedules with a single click. Try Aspire Crew Control for free at aspirecrewcontrol.com.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
All right, welcome back. It's a Lighting for Profits presented by Emery Allen. If you are looking for some light bulbs and stuff for your fixtures, go to emeryallen.com or just find the CEO owner, Tom Garber. He'll help you out. All right, we are back with Luke Jensen. And before the break, he was catching us up on his history in the holiday lighting industry. And then he he added landscape lighting to his offering. And then one day he got a Facebook message from me, and then I cut him off to go to break. So, Luke, what were you thinking when I sent you that message that said, hey, I'm Ryan Lee. I help people grow their lighting businesses. Is this something you need help with?
I was thinking, block this guy.
Exactly. Exactly. But you didn't. Why didn't you?
Honestly, because I have a good friend that had known you for years, and was kind of one of your competitors in the DFW area, and he kept complaining about freaking losing bids to you guys. He's like, man, freaking Majestic this, freaking Majestic that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I'm like, man, if you're blowing him out of the water, I got to find out who this guy is and see what he can do to help me do that. So my competition's saying the same thing.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've gotten to know him since, and I didn't know about at the time. You know, he's a good guy. So if I would have known that, maybe I would have, let him win a couple or two just to help him feel good
Right.
about himself. So, why did you decide though ultimately to pull the trigger? I mean, it was a new program. I didn't have a logo. I don't even know if I had a website, to be honest. It was more of an idea than a
You
business.
didn't even it wasn't even Landscape Lighting Secrets yet.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Business Accelerator or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I remember there. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say, guys, client numero uno, because there was Luke, and then there was 3 other guys that were really my founding, members. And Luke, I think you really were the first. I'm just
You didn't
like,
tell me that at the time, so you're a good sales
oh,
guy.
yeah, I'm
Close
not
to
gonna
the
be like,
chest.
hey, I'm looking for my initial founding member. But now I figure it's, we already know each other. I should just come clean about it.
Yeah. So we had scheduled like a 1-hour introductory call, and I think we ended up talking for almost 2 hours. And just sharing stories about how we make decisions and what we want out of life and how we respond to different situations. Um, I said to myself, I said, look, this guy thinks the way, not all the time, but, we seem to think alike. We seem to try to, want to achieve things in similar fashions. Um, and obviously, I'd heard about your history with your lighting company, and you were successful in multiple crews. And so, in my mind, if there's an opportunity to learn from somebody who's done something already, I don't, there's no need for me to invent or build everything from scratch and figure it out myself. Um, Before I hired you, I'd been doing trainings in the Christmas light industry for other guys that wanted to get into the business. So I had gotten all their feedback about like, hey, why the heck are you paying us for me to train you? And it was the same thing. Like, man, you guys have got this figured out. You see, you're seemingly successful. Um, you're giving us a breakdown from A to Z on how to do stuff. And so might have been naive, but I was like, man, I really feel like this guy can help me. And if I can, glean and learn and better my business and better myself from, whatever you're slinging, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. And it can be a scary thing. I mean, you're investing in yourself, right? But you're also, you're taking a risk. And that's what I liked about, or I still like about you, is like, and you've done it again since you and I have met multiple times. You're willing to take those risks, and that's one of the reasons why you're so successful. You didn't know the end game of joining that program at the time, because I didn't even know. I mean, we were building it in real time. It was like we would do a module, and I'd say, what did you think about that? What did you like?
Right.
What did you not like? And then we would modify it from there and go on to the next one. So, but the point was, you weren't like, well, like, how much is it going to cost, or is it worth it? You were asking the good question, is what's it going to do for me? And you were you were tying that to someone else's success, saying, well, if he could do it, then why couldn't I do it? So I love that about you. You're willing to take those risks, and risks, a lot of people think of risk as like just like rolling the dice or something like that, but that's not, in my opinion, what risk is. It's a calculated risk, right? Based on your circumstances. So that's something that I've always admired about you, is you're willing to go into something, and that's the reason where you've got to where you're at today. How did it go once you joined? Was it better than you thought? Not as good as you thought? About what you thought? Did you really feel like, okay, I could make a landscape lighting business out of this?
For the most part, it was better than I thought. When we started talking about pricing, that's when I got a little nervous, because I'd been trying to sell my jobs at fixture prices somewhere between $2 to $250 a fixture, and I thought I was selling at $250 a fixture. And you made us do this exercise to go through the last year to figure out what we actually were selling at per fixture, and it was like 217.83 or something like that. And I'm like, man, I'm not even close to the 250 mark. And you're like, okay, tomorrow you're going out and you're selling every job at 350 a fixture. And I was like, dude, you're freaking crazy. I can't sell at 215. How the hell am I going to sell it at 350? And you're like, well, what freaking difference does it make? If you can't sell it at 215, then who cares if you're asking for 350? Because if they're saying no one way, doesn't matter. So I was like, all right, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to try it. Well, I was a little pissed because I went out and I sold 3 jobs, 2 jobs the next day and 1 job the day after, all at 350 a fixture. I was like, man, this freaking guy was right.
That's so funny.
So not that it's a pride thing, but I was like, man, all right, he's right.
That's awesome.
And what I really found was that it changed my entire client profile, because when I was selling at 2 to 215 a fixture, I was selling to people on, retirement, fixed income, in the cheaper neighborhoods where they wanted it to look nice and they really liked the design and they really wanted the lights, but they just couldn't afford it. And of course I felt bad because like, man, your house would look great and maybe they're elderly or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I want to help you and do what I can. I remember one of my first jobs I ever did. This old guy, had to be 87, something like that. He lived alone. His wife had died of cancer. And I had to spend like 3 hours there just talking to him because he was so lonely. And so I present the quote and it's like $3,000, $4,000. And I'm like, this is a lot of money. He's like, oh, I only have $1,500. And I was like, all right, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do that cost. And I went onto one of those online sites where you can buy a bundled kit and I got, 15 lights for $9.99 or whatever it was. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put it in and I'll just use it for photos and whatever. And, I'm happy I did it for him and he loved it. But that was my mindset back then was, okay, I'm going to make the sacrifice to help you. Meanwhile, I don't step back and say, okay, you're living in a $2.8 million house and I'm struggling to, pay the bills.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're thinking, oh, I'm helping this guy out. It's like, well, he's actually
Right.
doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We tend to get ourselves in
So,
trouble that way because most of us are. I mean, that just means you have a heart. You're like trying to help people out, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, I keep using that like airline analogy. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. So
yeah.
you got to take care of yourself before you can actually really, really.
Well, and it's so true because when I still had that mindset, I mean, Christmas lights was totally different because we were always priced the highest in Christmas lights. If I wasn't the highest bid, I was the second highest bid in Christmas lights, and I was comfortable with that. But for whatever reason, I didn't translate that to the landscape lighting until you really pushed me. And then what we found, even with the next venture, the more we did that, the more we could actually help people because we're actually well funded enough. And whether we're helping people by providing a job or giving them a raise or providing better benefits or being in a position to make a donation to our church at year end or another inner city organization or something that speaks to us, capital can help people. And if you can build your company to a profitable point where then you can reinvest those in things you're passionate about, you can do a lot more good and you can help a lot more people than trying to save somebody $10 on a fixture.
Love that. Love that. As you're talking about that, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you want to do a dividend program back to your clients, fine, do whatever you want, but make the money so that you can decide to help. I love that.
Right.
Well, that's all. I appreciate you kind of sharing your experience on that. At some point, I thought, man, Luke's going to be my star student. He's going to just take this to $10 million. It's just going to be this glorious story. And then you called me and you gave me some other news. Let's talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I always loved Christmas and I really wanted to make Christmas year round and I couldn't figure out how to do that. I've always been on the design and install side and trying to build that to the point where that's all you do year round. It's a challenge. From a staffing perspective, anybody who's been in Christmas lights and has to hire seasonal staff, they know how hard that can be. Before this whole pandemic and everything, trying to hire people was hard enough, and we're getting, people with the drug problems and the baby mama drama and whatever it is. They'd show up for the first day. Hey, I need $20 to get to work tomorrow because I don't have any gas in my car. And then they wouldn't show up the next day. Staffing is a pain. And then you compound that with what a short season that you have. If you can't deliver to those clients, they get mad and they don't come back. I mean, in my research before starting Christmas light business, I found the number one reason for failure in the Christmas light industry is because you overcommit. So there's so much business out there, you end up drowning yourself, you piss everybody off, and then nobody wants to come back to you and you get a bad name in the industry. So keeping that in the back of my head while trying to hire, manage the demand for quotes and scheduling and staffing and everything else, I couldn't see how I could make that a sustainable full-time year-round business. So I get a call from a friend who's been in the industry for a long time and says, hey, I know of this guy. I just talked to him. He's looking to retire and he's interested in selling his business. It's a manufacturing distribution company in Georgia. He's like, he asked me if I knew anybody, and he's like, I thought, this might be something you might be interested in. So I called the old owner up and kind of walked through a bunch of questions, scheduled a time. I probably talked to him on December 4th or 5th, so it's still in the Christmas light season of 2020. And 2 or 3 days later, I booked a flight and flew down there and spent a couple of days with him going through P&Ls and histories and walking the shop and trying to get an understanding of the operation and just learning as much as I could. And I mean, I had a two-page spreadsheet or outline of all different questions we had about everything from supplies to P&Ls to balance sheet questions to cash flow projections and operations and the seasonality of it. And walked out honestly feeling a little overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know, there's a lot of opportunity here, but is there too much opportunity? And so it literally took us almost a year going back and forth between the old owner and I negotiating what each of us wanted. And then you get the darn banks and lawyers involved, and that adds another 6 months to everything. Started looking like this deal was never going to happen. And I called you multiple times, like not quite in tears, but you could probably hear the aggravation in my voice. Like, dude, is this meant to be? What the heck is going on? Like, my wife and I are both praying about it as much as we can. My parents are praying for us. Like, Lord, if this is meant to be, like, just make this happen, please. And if it's not, just give us a freaking sign so we know to give up on this. And so the end of September 24th, we ended up closing on holiday designs. And it's been a whirlwind ride. So all the way through the negotiations to, our install division in New York, we started installs on September 18th or 19th, something like that this year. And then on top of that, I'm flying down to Georgia to buy this new business and do this closing and take over this operation. We have with my wife and I, we have 9 full-time year-round employees that we're supporting now. And then I have the New York install crew, and I'm like, are we crazy? What are we doing?
A little bit, but that's what I love about you, man. You find an opportunity and you go after it. So we're going to take one more break, and I want to congratulate you because you did qualify to stay on the show a little bit longer, because I was going to close the show on my own, but I'm not doing that. I'm going to have you hang out a little bit longer, if you will, because I want to ask you more about holiday designs, find out a little bit more about what you do for the lighting community. Sound good?
You got it. Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back, guys.
Hey, everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of The Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's The Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Weekend Review.
The Weekend Review.
Join King Darren and all of your favorite Turfs Up radio hosts, including Hecubus, Eric, the Turf Teacher Jones, Brian. Ryan Lee, Wayne, the Prophet Bowles,
One opportunity.
his son Daniel, Brooke Ford, the Green Veteran, and many more. Join us live as we unpack the week and share what you may have missed live on Turfs Up Radio. That's the Weekend Review, Saturdays, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Attention all pros. When you leave a deal with your clients, don't leave money on the table. Join Turfs Up Nation today and partner with pros all across the country who can help you make more money for your services that are related to your project. Landscapers need plumbers and pool installers need hardscapers and every combination in between. Turfs Up Nation is free. Your information is secure, and you'll be connected with other pros in the industry who want to do business with you. And not to mention property owners who need help with everything. If you think your clients don't need you and the connections you have, think again. Join TurfsUpNation.com today and start putting more money in your pocket for services you never knew you could. Just remember to sign up for this free service. Go to TurfsUpNation.com.
All right, welcome back to Lighting for Profits. We are live on Turfs Up Radio, live on YouTube, Facebook, and maybe somewhere else. I don't know. But and by the way,
live on the moon.
Live on the moon. I mean, is there a radio station up there? We don't know yet.
Call
I
you.
don't even know does the moon exist? I mean, we could really get into some weird conspiracies here. Well,
We'll leave that for the next episode.
Yeah, after hours. So thanks for telling your story, Luke. I want to find out about Holiday Designs. What is it? What do you specialize in? What are you doing now?
So we're a fabrication shop, and we specialize in 2D silhouette displays, like pole mount displays. So if you're ever driving down Main Street, USA, in any town in America, a lot of times you'll see stars and snowflakes or wreaths on the lampposts or the telephone poles. We manufacture all that stuff. We have a huge catalog of ground mount displays. We have things like a 12 Days of Christmas display. It's over 120 feet long. It's life size. So a lot of the scenes are 8 feet tall, 12 feet tall, 20 feet wide. And customers like zoos, arboretums, walk-through parks, drive-through parks, municipalities, they're buying those scenes to, either fill in their park or put something, in the community center to help enjoy the holidays. We fabricate panel trees here. Everything we do is fabricated here in Georgia. We import our lights and wire because nobody makes lights and wire in the States, but the displays themselves, we buy the raw steel from a local steel supplier. We bring it in, we cut it, we bend it, we weld it. We use a local powder coater to powder coat it. We don't paint anything. And then when it comes back, we put the lights and wires on. So if a customer calls and says, hey, I want red, white, and blue, or I want red and green, or I want purple, we'll light each display, to spec. And we pack it and ship it. So from the pole mounts to the ground mounts to panel trees, walk-through tunnels, custom arches, animated things like elves throwing presents over the street, we can do that. We're currently building a huge arch where the deer are leaping over the street. So it's going to be part of the entrance to a drive-through park. And as they drive through, they'll have the deer leaping over the street side. So it's pretty cool. So we're a metal shop, we're a fabrication shop. And if you want something out of our catalog, we build it out of our catalog. And if you want something custom, we do a lot of custom work. So
how much of your business is out of the catalog versus custom orders? People going, hey, I want this type of thing. Can you do it for me?
I would say probably about 70% catalog and 30% or so is custom. And sometimes it's completely custom. We had a high school that wanted their mascot to be 12 feet tall, made out of lights, and we did it. We had a dental office that wanted something in the front yard. So we designed a tooth to go in the front yard, and then we designed a Santa hat that could be put on and removed for the Christmas season. And then a lot of times they like our display, but they don't want it on an archway. They want it on a building front. So we're taking our display and we're customizing it for their application.
Yeah, that's cool.
like the stars and snowflakes that you'll see on the telephone poles. Sometimes, if it's interior of a mall or it's under some kind of archway, they won't want it to mount on a telephone pole or a lamp post. They'll want it to be suspended so that you can see it from both sides and people can walk under it. And so we'll modify the mount or something like that for them. It's pretty cool. We have a lot of fun stuff. And I mean, I sold a deluxe Santa castle that was 30 something feet wide by 40 or something feet tall. I mean, just insane, some of these pieces that we can make.
That's cool. It sounds fun. It sounds like you're enjoying yourself. I know you said one of the reasons why you decided to get into that was you love Christmas lighting and you always wanted to do it year round. I imagine you at some point you maybe thought of, well, I could just, especially when things are going south with the banks and stuff like that, trying to get financing and negotiating with the seller. Did you ever think like, well, maybe I could just do this on my own. I could just start from scratch like I did all my other businesses.
It crossed my mind, but Holiday Designs was founded in 1994. So the company's 28 years old, and the depth of the catalog, the book of business that he had, just the customer list alone. And really, one of the biggest deciding factors were the employees. We have one of the welders has been here 16 years. One of the women in the assembly department, she's been here 24 years. Pretty much everybody else has been here between 3 and 5 years. So seeing that loyalty that they have to the company and just the experience and knowledge that they have, I was really able to step into this role, and I don't have to go back into the warehouse and babysit. The welders know what to do. The assembly department knows what to do. Whoever's running the Garland room, they know what to do. Shipping department knows what to do. So, I can sit at my desk, I can process the orders, I can talk to customers, I can talk to vendors, I can do what I need to do without worrying, hey, is that snowflake getting made? Hey, is that Santa Claus getting made? Hey, is that mother swan with babies? Is that on the welding table or is that in assembly? They get the orders. They know what to do. They know how to make them. They know how to light them. They know how to ship them. I've worked in each department, don't get me wrong, especially the shipping. When we first took it over, we didn't have a shipping person. So my dad, who's 69, turning 70 this year, he was in Georgia with me, and he was sweating his butt off, helping me pack these displays. And I mean, some of these displays are 6 feet tall, 8 feet wide that we got to pack into these boxes, and even bigger than that. And I mean, he's 70 years old back there doing it himself. And that was our first hire was, Dad, you can't do this. I said, you're too old to be doing this. And I don't want to do it. So we're going to have to hire somebody.
Well, I love the way you did it. And I just know my small brain thinks like, well, I can just start anything from the ground up. That's what I've always done. But the older and wiser I get, I think there's many people that would benefit from the opportunity that you did where, yeah, it was a pain in the ass. I mean, it took a lot of blood, sweat, tears, emotional stress, all that stuff for you, your family. But I think you did it right purchasing it because, yeah, it put you in the seat of a business owner, not the guy who's learning how to weld so that you can be a good welder. And then eventually you hire that. And, the way that you did the Christmas light business and the landscape lighting business and the way that I've grown my businesses. So I got a ton of respect for you for doing it and sticking with it. Cause a lot of people would have given up when the bank says, send me your personal info. It's like, oh, never mind. I just not.
Yeah.
It's
oh
easier.
My gosh. They wanted to know you asked me the other night about it. And I was like, they're going to ask you how much money your kids have in their bank accounts and where their bank accounts are. Like when you go through the SBA loan process, I'm like, gosh, it's more intrusive than a mortgage.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you, man. I'm glad to be associated with you, and it's cool to see your success. So before we wrap up, what's you want to just share your website, how people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, sure. holidaydesigns.com. That's designs with an S at the end. Our entire catalog is on there. Almost all the pricing is updated, but there's still some stuff that we're updating from last year. So if you have questions about anything, you can call us. You can email us. The office is 770-287-1400. My wife and I own and operate this together. So if you call, it's going to be most likely one of the two of us answering it. And if you want to email us, info at holidaydesigns.com. We can answer your questions, help you with quotes. If you have a park you're working on, we can help you with ideas for the park, or, whatever it is. On the install side, I have experience, so I can help you talk through that. And on the display side, if you need something, be more than happy to talk through that with you too.
Love it. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and go enjoy some time with that family of yours. And we'll talk when we talk.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, man. We had Luke Jensen with Holiday Designs. Go check them out, holidaydesigns.com. I want to thank Emery Allen. Go to emeryallen.com to find out more about their products, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.